we played, you were making your way down the river, and you'd sort of been cruising along for a good couple of days with Comstus. Uh, he was your guide and was showing you the way along there. But you'd been stopped on his barge by some rather nasty sort of raven-like individuals who'd sort of, psychically tried to mess with you and basically tried to, hold you up as bandits. And they weren't too successful. You kicked them in the teeth rather readily. So after that, you've sort of picked through them, and you think there are probably more in the forest, but it's up to you whether you want to pursue more of them, or whether you want to go after more of these Murden, or if you just want to keep shepherding your barge onwards. So what would you like to do?
We're trying to cross half of the kingdom, basically, aren't we, to get to where we think we need to go?
Yeah, so I'll bring that map back up. You are trying to get back to where you'd left Fetus, or well, where you assume Fetus has gone. Where you'd sort of left him was another place, but you assume he's gone back here, and you figure that the Devola will be able to guide you to where he is anyway. Where's that map? Map. Oh, this is... The interface in Roll20 is usually very good, except when you need to skip back like 30 pages.
Well, is it like just next and previous, is it?
More or less, yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Well, it's like a bar across the top that you have to manually scroll through. Where are we? And it means you have to go back through all these screens.
Oh man, you got a long way to go. I remember that one.
There's a map, not the right map. There we go. Okay, so you're about here at the moment. You're on the verges of the Westwood. You've sort of been following up you started at Harmouth, you went along this waterway here and off a tributary to it. Sorry, it was this one up here, and it sort of leads up through the centre of the forest to here somewhere. So you're probably about here. And you're on your way to Bodrov.
Yeah, I vaguely recall that Comstus was saying that the Westwood was filled with all sorts of nasty things.
It is, that's right. There are nasty things in there. Because you're along a river that's not well trafficked, but has a bit of traffic, you haven't really passed many things going the other way, but they do at times. You passed a couple when you're in the lower reaches, but you've just fluked it, so you haven't run into anything going the other way. It is not a super pleasant place. You're not going to retire here.
I suppose, out of curiosity, considering Elendar doesn't really know where we even need to be, I guess you kind of... I'm sure we probably figured this out, but exactly how far... Where is our final destination in comparison to where we're going, sort of thing? Because I know... Because what Comstus was saying, Bodrov's on the way to where we're going, but I don't actually know where the final destination was.
Okay, I'm just pulling up the bigger map, scrolling back through all these bits I've passed. There we go.
Yeah, there. Well, okay, so that was where we were. That's where we were going on the airship, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the place that you're actually Guilty. That was your original destination. You got as far as you definitely got to Boreg, and you got blown off course on your way to Beof. So where you're actually going is down here. It's actually that marker there, near Yenth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get to Bodrov, your choice is sort of you can make your way across land to Shalamas and try and pick up that airship route again, or you can make your way directly south across land, or you can figure out another solution.
Hmm.
Well,
For
Elendar
what
kind
it's
of
worth, Navarine is the kingdom where Charmond is the capital, and so
Yeah.
that's well, you know what Navarine's like. Although, from what you'd sort of heard and had been told, some of the unrest has died down a bit.
As in, it's
Although
definitely still
Worried it
going.
could have gotten worse.
they're still, well, you've sort of been across the kingdom, and news doesn't travel especially fast, other than by traders and merchants. But the gossip is that there was like full-scale rioting and unrest, but it's calmed down a bit.
Oh boy.
So you don't actually know whether you don't know if you're being hunted or anything like that. You just know that it's not perhaps quite as white hot a rage as it was last time you were there.
I guess
If you'd like to know anything about any of the sort of nearby destinations, I can provide you that.
Well, if we're stopping up at Bodrov, we can just. I would actually be okay with going to Shalamas because that would be. Um, what's the way of actually putting it? Sorry.
What's not to
Yeah,
love
but.
about a place called the Dark Hills?
how about everything?
I really don't like the sound of that.
But it sounds fun. Fun. You can bring
It's like
torches and sit out and watch the dark sky.
And tell ghost stories?
Yeah,
Ghost
ghost
stories. And braid each other's hair?
It's okay, I'll get Zipper to braid yours, and he might not be gentle though because he doesn't know how to be gentle, so he might just yank your hair out.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I'm not really too keen on staying in the Westwood, considering if there's any more of those Murden around.
Yeah, I think we should just hightail it to Bodrov and Shalamas, because that was
Yeah.
where we went through from Charmond to on the way to this place. So it might get us into a bit of a groove in terms of which way to go.
Yeah, like the Murden, the ones that you fought weren't a great threat, but they are also, the dudes they sent out to stand across the road with a log. They weren't, necessarily the high command.
So basically, just like raiders or something.
Well, they you can't tell. You don't know because you only saw the 6 guys or whatever that were there and weren't they weren't a big challenge.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm more for hightailing it out of the Westwood as soon as possible.
Okay, so you're gonna travel on.
Yep.
Okay, so Comstus is Comstus has been sort of tending to his animals and has been, whilst you got in your fight with the Murden, and he sort of, has looked at you, and he says, "Lugs, my friend. You see that large log that is across the track up ahead? I know you are particularly skilled with the axe. Is this a problem you are able to solve for us?"
Of course it is. Everything's a job for an axe. And a flex.
9.
Could have been worse. Good enough.
Comstus sort of, approaches you and puts his hand on your arm, and you think it's just like a friendly gesture, but then you realise he's sort of squeezing your muscles. And he's, his big eyebrows sort of raised, and he goes, "I think. Oh, look. Why don't you have a go? And when you get tired, we will take over for you."
Ah, perfect. I'll go attack the log. Sorry. Precision strike to help remove it.
Okay, roll a strength check. It's a log.
What's this alignment?
I'm not going to put edge into this because it's always much more fun this way.
The tree dodges.
At least it wasn't a 1.
Okay, so you bring your axe out. It's your good axe, and you give it a good couple of chops, and it actually clears pretty easy. You get the sense that the log's been here a while. It's the dread tree, the dread gazebo. The tree's been here a while. It's not, it hasn't hardened in it, but it might be a little bit rotten or something. So you make pretty short work of it, and Cops just makes appreciative noises as you do so.
That was a very strong tree, but thankfully, with my muscles and my skills, I managed to clear it.
So you've done the you clear the tree out of the way and sort of make through, and and you start to bring the barge in and move it up the river. You travel for another sort of a couple of hours before making camp, and then by the next morning you get the sense that the wood is you've been through the deepest part of the Westwood. The trees are not quite as tall and looming. You get through and you realise it's a bit more. You think it's starting to thin out as you move through the day. You go through one more patch, but you're now think of those areas of discontinuity where the river sort of is going like that. You move through one more of those, but now you sort of know what's coming and and can ride it out a bit more readily. And as the as the sort of day grows longer and you start to see the sort of lights of the glowing trees at the edge of the forest come out, you start to move into sort of low scrubland and lower land. You get the impression that it's getting a bit drier and a bit less well a bit less well watered, a bit less well rained as you go out. You move into scrubland. The river flows upwards until it reaches a fork, which is here. And taking the left fork, Comstus tells you that you're now approaching Bodrov, and he sort of gathers you all around and says, "You will find Bodrov a very interesting city. Have any of you been there before?"
I shake my head.
As what have the tales told you of Bodrov? Anything?
Do you even know anything about Bodrov?
I don't.
So Bodrov is it's a minor well, cities are probably not the best word. It's a minor
Settlement?
settlement within Navarine, but it does have a bit of history. So what Comstus tells you is that Bodrov is basically a fortress city. So it was once a like a giant ancient fortress made of a type of stone that's quite strong. It's not stone from around here. Some of the old legends say that the stone was grown. Other old legends say it was coalesced out of other matter. Even more old legends say that it was assembled on the spot, almost like like self-assembled out of the surrounding matter. Whichever way it was, it's more than sort of 150 meters high and 240 meters across, but it's actually smaller across the base. So it sort of rises out as like a big. It's almost like on a bowl. And so what you find, where is the picture? So what you'll find is it is a fortress city. And the other thing Comstus tells you that's interesting is that one of the most... oh, damn it, where's my thing? One of the more interesting things about it is it's a collectivist society that lives at Bodrov, except it's not one collective. So there are actually 3 or 4 different collectives that live there. And the way it's set up is that if you're a member of one collective, you sort of don't pay attention to the other collectives. So if you talk to the people in Bodrov, if you talk to someone of one faction, they'll only ever acknowledge the parts of Bodrov that are of their faction. And if you, even to the point of sometimes they share the same street, or sometimes they share the same, same building, members of different collectives, but they'll never acknowledge people from the other collective. They won't even look at them. So what Comstus tells you to be very conscious of, the people of the different collectives will wear sort of different clothing. And he says that once you've been there for a little bit you'll work out, who belongs to which and how to navigate it. But he basically says, do not ever, if you're talking to one guy, then turn and immediately talk to someone else if they're of different collectives within there, because it's just like one guy will assume that you're pretty much talking to nothing, and vice versa. So yes, it's kind of difficult to navigate in that way.
Mm.
The reasons for this collective are, these sort of overlapping societies are sort of lost in time. There is talk that, it was part of a peace treaty, when this was a fortress years and years ago, that, 2 different armies might have occupied different parts of it. And part of the peace treaty was, we won't mess with if you don't mess with us. But over time, it's grown into this great rigmarole. So you approach Bodrov on the barge, and there is a loading dock down at the bottom. And Comstus sort of hails a guy on the dock who he sort of recognises, and he points at the he points at some of the woodwork around it. And you can see on this woodwork dock it's very sort of hard and angular, almost runic. And he says, yeah, that is one faction. You have to be anytime you see that sort of runic design, it means you are talking to them.
Thank you, Comstus. I'm gonna have to write this down. I'm not gonna remember all these different symbols.
He says, you will find it after a time. Find it second nature. I have been here many times. you sort of look at they keep that pattern that on their clothing. This is the thin pie. Anytime you see the runic pattern, it belongs to the thin pie. The other one you need to look for is that sometimes you get a curlicue, and it is like a blue, it is like the water, they have it as a scroll thing. They are the lael. As long as you stick to those two rules, there are two other factions, but they are less worth talking about. But if you see someone that does not have the rune color, or does not have the curly bits, just to make sure you don't confuse them as well.
This is going to do my head in, I swear. Alright, so Rooney people are the thin pay, the swirly, curly swirls are the lael.
The lael, yes. The thing
I
to
don't even...
remember is the thin pay are, the thin pay are the traders, the thin pay are a very gregarious society, they're very welcoming. The lael are a bit more reserved.
Well, at least they seem
So,
pleasant enough and not about to bite our heads off.
oh look, it is a peaceful city, because if you ask them, they say it's two cities. They say they are neighbors. They talk about people in other place, but it is of course the same place. So after pulling up the docks, he sort of takes his beasts off to feed and be penned in a stable, and then he comes back and says, I can show you up to the city, I can show you to a nice inn. I myself, I sleep on my boat, because I have to take load back tomorrow, but I show you up to a nice inn. So
That'd
on
be very
the
nice.
so there's a winding path. As I said, it's almost like the bottom of a bowl, the bottom of the city, but there is a sort of ring cut into it. It's a spiral path that leads up to the main city. And the top of the city is a bit more uneven, as you can see in the picture. But he sort of leads you up this spiral path, and as you go past, it's quite a wide thing. It's cut into the stone. You pass various people with pack animals on the way down, some of which do have that sort of runic pattern, who sort of, wave on the way past. A couple of them stop to chat with Comstus because they recognise him. And you also walk past some of the lael on the way on the way up. And occasionally you even see the two groups going near each other. And Comstus pulls you aside and he says, when they are walking very close like that, you acknowledge one and then the other. You never wave to all of them. It is a single wave to one and another one to the other. Very important, keep in mind. Otherwise, well, they will think you are not just rude, but sometimes insulting. They're not violent, but they are a bit strange. They pay very well for the wood off my barge, though. That is the best part. So he brings you up, and as you sort of walk through the city, you can see areas where the two civilizations overlap on one another. There's some buildings that do have that sort of elaborate runic thing, and some of those have, music coming out and noise, whereas others have, are a bit more reserved and less elaborately decorated, but have that sort of curl pattern to them. He points to a large building that's sort of in the center of the bowl of rock. It's almost a perfect dome-shaped building. And you'll see that building there. That is one of the only places in the city that is considered to be part of both the Tinpei and the Lael. So that building is a neutral zone. It is They call it a border crossing. So you go in there when there is diplomacy between the two factions, when there is trade. They do all the trade in there. If you ask me, it is silly, because if I wanted to trade, I walk from one store to the next store. But no, to do it official, you go from there into the building, cross the border, and come back out. Far too much effort for me, but it happened. He brings you to a building where it's a thin pay building, and written on it in a language you recognize is it's just called Stromes. And he says, this is Stroms. Stroms is a good, your beer is good, the music is usually good. You stay at Stroms, you'll be happy. Anyway, gentlemen, I will stop here. I can have a drink with you, but then I must get back to my barge and set sail again. Is there anything else you need from me and Bodrov?
No. I would like to thank you on behalf of us all. You helped us out of a pickle and took us on our way. I'll let us buy you food and drink, and we can celebrate the.
Oh no, it is my treat. I am a humble trader. You saved me those Murden. I would have been a sticky spot. It is my shot.
You are the best lumber merchants I've met so far.
Yeah, I'll definitely recommend it to my friends.
You know my tagline. Comes to give you wood. Hey.
Best.
And so he stops and then he has a quick meal with you and buys a round or two of drinks and then he gets near the end of his second drink. He goes, "Well, gentlemen, I give you good luck on the rest of your journey. I hope you find your friend. I hope you get to where you'll need to go. In the night world, it is always good to help one another out. But I say good night to you and good luck." And he sort of raises his drink and downs it and puts it back on the table.
Yeah. I just take a drink as well.
Good luck, gentlemen. And with that, he makes his way out of Stroms and into the night, back down to his boat.
What a nice guy.
So after Comstus leaves, he'd sort of shepherded you up here pretty quickly and, got food on the table pretty quickly. Now you've got a bit of a chance to sort of look around Stroms. Everyone in there seems to be, it's basically a weeknight. It's not it's not packed and it's not, but it's not empty. There are people and Vargellen sort of sitting around. They're all, all nursing a drink of one another. A lot of sort of quiet conversation. It's not too rowdy. You notice they're all wearing like at least some patch or some scarf or something which has got that runic design on them. Like it's like a also like a badge, so you can sort of tell who's who. But there are some there that aren't wearing it at all. But from their demeanour and the way they're interacting from everyone else, you get the sense that people just know they're of their type. So, what would you like to do?
You said it's like the evening sort of thing?
Yeah, it's sort of about 7 o'clock by the time that Comstus leaves you.
I kind of turn to the other two, and I don't really think we have anything really to trade or go shopping with. I mean, I'm down to a few coins myself. I think we have enough for some time in the inn before, but nothing really to like go crazy with our money.
Uh, it's been a long day. I'm thinking we should just, we should definitely just turn in for the night, then head out at first light.
Okay.
We take it's more risky. That's how Scrapper sees it right now. So, yep, he's okay with resting, just not staying.
Okay. So you talk to the innkeeper. You don't think it is Strom. The famous Strom doesn't appear to be there. But the person who's on duty there, you know, shows you to some rooms, fairly cheap, only 2 or 3 shins a night. They're pretty Spartan, but they'll do. And sort of shows you up there to sleep. You're on the sort of second floor, looking out over the street. Now, the street that Stroms is in is one of those ones that's sort of mostly Finpei, but sort of a... So the side of the street you're on is entirely Finpei, and about half of the street across from you is Finpei. As you look left out of the window, though, there is a section of buildings that look different to the rest of the street, and you get the sense that they're the other factions. They belong to the Lael. And Blargs has just had a bit of a computer crash.
Oh, good.
He took
And
his
now
axe
it's
to his
up.
computer.
Well, now it's updating on him, apparently.
Oh, he didn't. He probably didn't stop the update from like the automatic shutdown from updates, because I saw Windows updates happened, but yeah, he must have ignored it.
Oh, well, he'll jump back in a minute.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's where you are. After you've been in your rooms for a bit, it's now after midnight. You hear a noise from out in the street. Would you like to investigate?
Kind of noise.
It's like somewhere between a shout and a chant out in the street.
Yep, I'll go out there and see what all the commotion is.
Okay, so if you go to your window first, you can look out there and you see that the Lael side of the street. Blargs, it's late at night. There's noise coming from outside.
Excellent.
On the Lael side of the street, it appears that the people have come out of their doors, and there's what looks halfway between, not quite a parade, but more like a ritual observance going on over there. But it's quite sort of vigorous and not necessarily joyous, but there's a lot of sort of dancing and chanting around, and it's quite somber, even though it looks like quite a lot of activity going on out there. But it's only on the sort of side of the street where it's a Lael, it's the Lael faction.
They kind of like roll over. I'm guessing we all like shared a similar room, or at least paid up for a larger 3-bedroom room or something like that. I kind of just roll.
You're in sort of a dormitory.
Yeah, I kind of just roll over the stretch. It's just like, Scrapper, what's going on?
I have no idea. Just trying to wrap my head around what's going on, but yeah. I think I've got Zipper outside as well. Or just at the door, just sitting there. But I'm actually probably going to go out there and check it out.
Okay, are you going to fully armor up, or just wander out in your, strip down a bit in your night clothes almost?
One of the hardest decisions ever. I'll armor up, but I won't take all my weapons. I'll just have the crossbow with me.
Okay, so you sling your crossbow over your shoulder and strap on a couple of armor plates and walk outside, zipper in tow.
Hmm.
As you approach that side of the street, you're wary of the fact that you are crossing into Lael territory from Finpei territory. And as you sort of slip into the Lael side of the street, the people go from not even looking at you and not even acknowledging your existence to suddenly you're present, you're with them, now you're here with them. One of the locals on the side of the road there ushers you over and says, "Shh, it's just, just get out of the road." As you sort of make your way through and out of the way of the dancers.
Ah,
And
sorry.
once you're on the once you're on the pavement, it's they sort of aren't molesting you. They're not like it's basically just like get out of the way. You're in the middle of something.
Yeah, I'm making sure I'm out of the way. Yeah. I'm just sort of just going, yep, sorry. I'm just curious here. I've never been here before.
So as you get closer, one of the you notice there's a bit more of a pattern than you first think. There's a couple of dancers doing like a quite an elaborate sort of dance, but there seems to be one guy at the front of the group. It's a dance troupe of 6 or 8 people and one sort of leader, and then a bunch of people watching it. And the leader sort of calls something out, and then the dancers do some movements in response. You get the sense there, the leader. It's almost like a call and response thing. The leader is calling out part of the story, and then the dancers are either acting it out or responding to it in some way. It's not in a language that you know. It appears to be in. You can sort of pick up grabs of it, but it appears to be in like an older form of the truth.
Right, okay.
So would you like to inquire with the crowd more or anything like that?
No, I'm more just quietly observing because I'm still quite tired, so I'm not really going to be that active. I'm more just, I'm just observing from the background.
So what you get the sense as it goes on that this is a ritual belonging to the group here, who are are culturally distinct and do have their own their own customs. But you get the sense that they're telling a mythological story, and they've and this is like a religious observance.
Mm. Yeah, I'll actually look over at Zipper. What's Zipper actually doing at the moment?
Zipper's sort of followed you, and as you moved onto the pavement, he sort of walked over and sort of planted himself on the curb, and is just sort of watching the movement of the dancers. And as you sort of turn your attention to Zipper, you look at him, and he sort of makes a motion like he's imitating one of the dancers out there.
Yes. Yeah, I actually just like lightly clap to him, just as he's doing it.
And then he does that a little bit on the curb, and then he points to the group of dancers and then to himself.
Does he want to join them? Is that what he's asking?
Well, he's more asking, is that what you want him to do?
I just chuckle and just shake my head. Just basically just speak to Zipper softly. It's like we'll just leave him be. I don't think they can handle a robot out dancing him.
So the dance goes on for, you'll probably watch for another 10 minutes or so, and then it sort of starts to wrap up, and the locals start to disperse. There's a bit of applause and a bit more chanting from them all, and they start to disperse back inside. As you and so you head back up to the room. While this has been going on, Blargs, Elendar, did you decide to come down and join, or just keep watching from the window, or sleep?
Sleep. The third most important thing in the world, after axes,
And flex.
muscles, and women.
Elendar was like, stirring and stuff, but Scrapple told him if there was anything interesting. He just kind of rolled back over and went back to snoring.
All right. So the next morning, there's no more disturbances during the night, but you go down to the inn in the morning, and there's a couple of people around. A couple of travellers, a couple of locals getting breakfast served. Different bartender from last night. Still not Strom, but there's a couple of people there, and they're all sort of chatting away about what's happening in the city and what's happening in the day. They all sort of are talking about, just general local things. There's no indication there that there's any sort of special purpose to the day. Scrapper, is there anything you'd like to follow up from the previous evening?
No, not really, considering I didn't really understand much of it. It's not really that much I'm really that curious about. It was more just taking Zipper there, because I'm pretty sure Zipper would have wanted to go see it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And given that it was the Lael doing it, you probably wouldn't get much from the guys in this pub anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So after all that, you have some breakfast. Now you're sort of free to move around the city and make any trading that you need to know. But the question is, are you guys happy with the supplies you've got now, or would you like to pick up some extra work to to make a bit of cash?
What's my rations at the moment?
Well, I have 8 days of rations, apparently, and after spending some shins on the room, or just for board, I guess, I have 6 left.
I've still actually got plenty after I sold a lot of my gear back at the last town, so also I've still got plenty of rations left, so if you do need more, let me know.
I like money.
Because I've still got enough rations for a few weeks, I think.
Jeez, how much food are you carrying?
I went kind of nuts the last time, and just like because of how long it was actually going to take, I was, instead of trying to go for rations as we go, I decided to stockpile it a bit. I've got Zipper helping me carry this stuff, so basically it's currently, I'm actually just counting it in the bag, it's like 25 rations.
Oh, that should keep you going for a bit.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
That's if we were actually going to be doing the whole thing on foot, which I was taking care of every situation. So now we've just got a lot of food left over, which is never a bad thing.
It is my thought, perhaps, that if we're heading towards Shalamas, there might be a land caravan or something like that, or we might need to acquire some sort of other transportation, which is likely to cost money.
Yeah.
I think Blargs is right. We need to go get a job.
It's a possibility. I mean, we can always do that also at Shalmas as well. But then again, this being a mining town, or mining settlement, I might say,
Well, it's
Blugs would
not
be
so much.
kind of useful here.
It's not so much mining, but it is. It's just a local centre built into this. It's not really
So it's not
a
active,
huge.
really.
It's not a huge industrial centre.
Okay, right. All right. Yeah, so I guess we can try either finding work here or when we get to Shalamas. It's really up to you guys.
I mean, how far is Shalamas?
It's about 120 kilometres. So a couple of days journey. I mean, if you're doing it on foot.
Yeah, that's like a week walk, I guess.
A little bit less than that, but yeah.
I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm kind of a little bit freaked out by this place, not gonna lie. Kind of don't want to put a foot wrong and end up getting people angry at me.
Yeah, well, when I was going, I was actually at the Lale area last night, which is where that was being held, and for the most part, they were okay with me being there, as long as I just didn't. Mainly, I just didn't decide to cause any trouble, of course, and kept Zipper out of trouble too. So they left me alone, which is good. But yeah, I can sort of see that kind of vibe as well that you're feeling too. Man, yeah, one wrong step and we could get a knife in the toes that step too far.
Or a ring on the finger. Blogs.
Eh.
I don't like to talk about
I just
that.
snigger when he says that. It's like, yeah, maybe Blas can get married here too. We'll see. It's still it's still early here.
I've heard of a lay in every port, but a wife in every port.
That'll be a first time for everything. I mean, they speak of stories of Blogs and his 37 wives in 37 cities.
Although this city apparently counts as two.
Yeah, that's a whale and a thin pay wife. That'll be really interesting, wouldn't it?
Well, at least that way you know never the twain shall meet. They're not likely to run into each other.
Yeah, I can't really see any point in staying.
So here are your sort of choices. You've got if you head towards Shalamas, there are caravans going that way who might appreciate, guards to travel with them or people to wander along. It's reasonably well trafficked, the road. You can sort of cut a day or two off your journey if you skirt closer to the Black Hills, just into the sort of foothills. Otherwise, you have to sort of go around a little bit. And if you do that, you're off the beaten trail a bit. So it really depends on whether you want to prioritize speed or prioritize safety.
I'm all for speed, to be honest.
Barks, what do you think?
Speed and strength, the pillars of all men. Also, safety
I
doesn't.
don't think Blogs would like the safe route anyway. That's one thing that's one thing that's going through my mind at the moment.
You know me well.
We have been traveling together a lot, yes.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, would you like to set out?
Yeah. So once we're all strapped up and ready to go.
Okay, would you like to find any gossip or anything about the trail?
It would be nice to know if there's any trouble up ahead.
When you ask around the inn and all that, the main thing that people just tell you is the same thing that you'd hear travelling everywhere. One says, oh, you need to look out for bandits because bandits are, well, bandits are everywhere. Um, they're apparently the ones around here. If you stray to the Dark Hills a little bit, you are more likely to run into them. One of the others said, there was a village I heard of called Negridin, but I haven't heard anything out of Negridin for a while. I hope they're all okay. And the rest sort of, legends and bits off the road. One says, you need to beware, there's the ship that patrols over the corner of the Dark Hills. It's only there sometimes, but occasionally things fall from the ship and, well, given how high a ship is and what falls from it, I wouldn't want to be under it. Strange thing is, though, it doesn't look like any ship I've seen. And I've heard tell that it vanishes on occasion.
Hmm. That's a pretty cool feat. Okay, mainly got from that is there could be bandits, which means Blargs will be happy.
One of the other things they tell you in there is that there's a village along the way that is in the hills that's very reclusive, called Elderbriar. And they say that Elderbriar is is not a bad little stopover on the way if you need to stop and replenish or do anything like that. They pull out your map and they sort of tap a location on it and say, oh, this is Elderbriar here, put a little mark on it and say, if you head for there, that's a good waypoint along the way.
We might go there, we'll see.
Out of curiosity, this is just to the general people we've been talking to around the tavern. What exactly is so dark about the Dark Hills? Is it evil?
Well, they sort of you ask that question, and from the 5 people in the tavern, you get 7 different responses. At least one of the people says, "Oh, it's all fine. They're just hills. It's perfectly safe. It's just bandits and other people out." One of the others says he's heard something about there's a large door somewhere in the hills that the travellers come across and it's closed. But some say that this door in the side of the hill sometimes opens. Big monsters come out and then wreak havoc for a couple of hours and then all go back inside. Another one says, the thing about the Dark Hills is, there's some deep valleys and travellers sometimes fall into them, but it's not, some of them are steeper than you'd ever expect. So you just need to be careful. Another one says they're called the Dark Hills just because the rock on them is is a dark colour. They think it's just purely literal.
I kind of consult the map sort of thing. I'm just like, what's on the far side of the Dark Hills? If we were to pass over them, it would take us south-ish towards where we needed to go in Beoth.
Well, they say, south of the Dark Hills is Cordesh, and Cordesh is, is a pretty, decent-sized city in Draeolus. It's a different kingdom. But they say, oh, sometimes we get trade there. Usually it's via Ospar or they come around the hills just because it's easier on the caravans. But Cordesh is civilization.
I don't know, Scrapper, Dogs, just head straight for Shalmas and cut off some time there, or go for a little bit of an adventure and see if there's something, maybe save some time walking overland instead.
It's I'll say I'm tempted to go a bit off the beaten track towards the town as well. We just gotta remember that we're that the longer we take, the more risky it gets. But I don't know for sure.
What you know about Draeolus as a kingdom is that Draeolus is the kingdom to the south of Navarino, over the other side of the hills. It's the most sort of well populated and most one of the wealthiest sort of states in the Steadfast. One thing that Draeolus is known for is the city of Key, and Key is the largest city by far in the Steadfast. It's much bigger than Charmond, and it's also where the Amber Pope, the leader of the Aeon priests and the center of the Order of the Truth, is housed. And it's a city of about 500,000 people. So, like, Draeolus is like about as civilized as the Steadfast gets, at least once you head into the sort of southeastern reaches of it. Boreg is sort of, and Beoth are in Draeolus. They're sort of on the edge of it.
I mean, I don't really know where I'm going. You guys have a better idea of where you're going, but from what you guys were saying, you guys crashed on an airship.
Yeah, but we did have an idea the path it was meant to take. So we do have an inkling of where to go. So, and the original destination before we were going to the town on the side was actually on the path of that airship.
Yeah, so originally we were trying to get to Beoth.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, when we got knocked off course due to the iron wind. So, but good news is that at least that narrows down the actual direction of where we're planning to go. But unfortunately, yes, I don't know its exact location to get back to Zabona, but it's better than nothing.
Just if we go to Shalmas, we're kind of pitching our tents in terms of hoping for an airship.
That's true. But we can still go down. There was a river that goes in that direction, wasn't there, Red?
That's the Weir. The Weir is what the airship sort of went along. It's a little bit too rough to navigate by boat, but I mean you could walk it if you were.
We can use that as a path anyway. Yeah, I'm thinking we could just use that as a path if anything. If we can't get an airship. Which also works.
Well, we're going to be traveling anyway, so I mean, it's up to you two. You know roughly where you're going. I'm just walking around with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty much more for just going straight to Shalmas anyway, but yeah, there might be something interesting there at the town. So, yeah, if it's not too far off the actual beaten track, then yeah, we can go there too.
Are we talking about Elderbro or the other place?
Elderbro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to make your way to Elderbriar?
Yeah.
Okay. So you move back down the spiral path on the way out of Bodrov. On your way down, you can pass members of the Lail and members of the Thay. And you move your way down. This time you sort of take you go a further around the city and end up on the other side of it. And so you start moving towards the south and along a trail. After a bit, the trail sort of diverges. There's a clearly path, the clearly well beaten and well trodden path that goes to Chalamas, by the long way, the one that caravans use. And there's another smaller path. It's still an established road. It's just not it's just well tracked as the road to Chalamas. And you travel along here for the better part of the day, and before you start getting into hillier country, you sort of pass some farms where there's people tending various crops. There's one where the crop is actually these sort of floating. They almost look like jellyfish floating above the path, and you can see the farmer out there tending them. We're down about here somewhere. There's another person that goes past a crop who's set up a sort of rudimentary greenhouse, except inside, and you can't see all the way into the greenhouse. There's sort of you can see like electrical discharges within there, and there's a lot of places. You walk past old ruined buildings and parts that have been destroyed and eroded as you move down in there. So you make camp for the night in one of these sort of ruins, which is made of like a perfectly sort of smooth glass, almost glass stone. You've got pretty good visibility, but there's no, and even though you keep watch and everything, there's not much in the way of threats or anything. The next day you start moving to some sort of rocky hillocks, still along a well, along this road. And there's sort of this, you sort of get up into an area, you sort of climb a little bit over these hillocks and through these sort of swampy areas and bits. You're heading into the source of some of these rivers. And some areas that are, a little bit misty. You hear a couple of patches of mist and bog along the road, but it's still pretty traversable. At about 2 p.m. on your second day of travel, you spot a village in the distance. It's atop of one of the hills, and from what you can see, is it looks mostly to be made of wood buildings and stone buildings. As you and you sort of approach from there. As you approach the hill, it's and move up the track, you start to run into a couple of sort of farmers and people out working on the road and in the fields, and they sort of nod at you and sort of regard you with not like get out of my way sort of thing, but they sort of look at you like, oh, outsiders, that's interesting. You get the sense that they don't see many outsiders here, but they're not awful. They're not like hostile or anything. They're just going, oh, people who are not from here. That's interesting. And as you make your way up to the village, you just sort of keep sort of running into these locals. As you get up there, you come into a sort of small and quiet town square. There are assorted locals out there trading or discussing. Looks like a tavern where there's a couple of people sitting out front. There's someone shepherding a herd of livestock through the town square. Here, there's sort of bugs about the size of about 50 centimeters long. These small, almost like beetles, somewhere between a beetle and a cockroach. Sort of shepherding them. It's called a hurrick. They're these woolly insect things. They're woolly, but they look like woolly cockroaches, basically. that they're sort of shepherding through the town square, and he's got a couple of farmhands helping him with this. And you sort of see, regarding them and looking over them, there's this older woman. She looks like she's probably in her 50s, and she's sort of got her arms crossed. But the thing that you notice immediately, other than her sort of, she's got sort of this darkish red hair, you notice. But the thing you really notice is that her left arm appears to be made entirely of ice. And as she's sort of standing back a bit, but sort of helping catch some of these stray bugs as they get out of the herd and pushing them off in there. And she sees you approach and just holds her arm up while the farmer moves the rest of the livestock through. After she does that, she starts to approach you up to the farmer's well out of the way with his insectile livestock and says, "Well, we don't often see outsiders in Elderbriar, but welcome. Welcome to our village."
Thank you. What's that you got there?
What's that I've got where, sorry? My name is Galus. I'm sorry for not introducing myself.
That's alright.
What was your name?
My name is Scrapper. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Scrapper, is that northern?
In a way. Just not really one that's really had a home. I've just been quite the traveller. I was a travelling merchant back in the day before I started taking up adventuring.
She sort of bring well, that life's not for me. And who are your friends? Who are you?
I'm blocked and I flex. It helps if I type correctly. Why do I even bother?
Oh, one.
Oh, one.
Nice.
She sort of looks at you and she goes, "Oh, you poor man! You must have been traveling with your friend here and injured. You must be delusional." Well, welcome to Elderbriar.
It's okay. He's afflicted with a terrible, terrible illness.
Oh, well,
Muscle
not
has
for you.
ravaged me.
She looks at you and she goes, "Look, I may not have traveled far, but I know enough about biology to know that slightest is not a thing. You were trying to impress me, weren't you?" "Oh, by the bees and the ghosts of these. This is... Yeah, it is lovely to see travelers here, but what brings you to this part?"
We decided to pretty much stop here on our way to Shalmas.
"Oh, you've taken a shortcut. Is that what you've decided to do?
Yeah.
What do,
This
what do
counts
you
as a
seek?
shortcut.
What do you seek in Shalamas?"
Transport mainly. We're planning on journeying to the south to save a friend.
Well, Shalamas isn't south of here.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, so we're going south past Shalamas, so that's where the transport's taking us.
Oh, okay. Because this area is, it's quiet around here, peaceful. We do sometimes get travelers coming from over the dark hills, but not very often. It's not a very nice way to walk.
Have you had much trouble coming from the Dark Hills, or has it just been okay?
Oh no, there's well, hills. It's not trouble so much, but there is there is the hive man down there.
Okay.
And the bees, we stay away from the bees, and as long as we stay, we're not away from them, but we don't go near the bees, and they don't come near us, and it works out well.
Hmm.
Did I hear that right? Bees.
Bees.
Yes, the bees. Look, I've never been there myself. Not, uh, it's not something I tend to mess with. I tend to sit here in the village, and she sort of, and now that you're close to you, you can see her arm is like made of ice, even though it's perfectly articulated, and you can see sort of frost rising off it. She says, I was in an accident many years ago, and after that, I don't leave the village very much. And we tend to our crops here, we tend to our livestock here, and we stay away from the bees, and they don't bother us.
But they're bees. How would they bother you?
Well, look, I don't know too much about it. If you want to know more about bees, there is someone you can talk to.
I don't know. I don't consider myself a beeologist.
I get the feeling that peologist is another word like muscleitis that you've just made up.
I have not been to school for a number of months, so I don't know what the correct term for someone who studies bees. An
Well,
insectologist?
around, uh, I think you'll find the term apiarist. But none of us here are apiarists. We don't do the bees. We just have our own. We have the Hurric, which you just saw through the square. But if you would like to know about the bees and the hive man, there is someone you can go see. You can go and talk to Seda out, outside the village, and she can provide you with more information if it piques your curiosity. But if you do end up going to the bees and to the hive man, all I ask is that you don't bring any trouble on us here. We're a peaceful people.
Oh, don't worry. We are very much a peaceful group as well. We're not going to bring any harm to you or anyone else in this town.
Oh, I wasn't assuming any ill will on your part, but accidents do happen. We are curious. I have been curious, but I don't venture out there about what actually is going on down there.
Is it true that some areas of the Dark Hills are very, very steep and you can get lost in like caverns and valleys that never end?
Oh, like any area, there are parts that are more treacherous than others. We've had travelers come here and tell of strange things. There is the ship that sometimes hovers over the hills and drops objects. And there is the door that I've never seen myself, but they say sometimes opens and lets some things out, but they've never bothered us here in Elderbriar.
Let's hope that we don't bother it either, and that we're not bothered by it. I don't really want to get hit on the noggin by someone tossing something at from a ship.
But no, that's true. That would tend to put a dampener on your day.
Um,
That's also
does
extremely unlikely.
does Elderbriar have anywhere we might be able to rest for the evening?
I'll tell you what. We like having travelers here. Bring some new stories into the local economy. The stories about the Hurric, about the livestock can get a little bit tiresome. If you agree to regale your tale to the people at the village, I'm sure we can find beds for you.
I've seen Blarks do amazing jumping.
Mm.
I like stories.
Oh, there are. I'm sure there are some fans of acrobatics here.
Yes.
He could
So
perform.
so they find you some quarters just to spend the night in, and as the evening approaches, they invite you to to basically it's not a big tavern. It's more like it's a pub. They invite you to the pub and feed you there, and they offer you the chance to tell your story. So who'd like to tell the story of what you've gone through?
Uh,
I'd like to provide backup in the form of flexing and
Roll to flex.
jumping.
Roll to flex.
Interpretive flexing.
Interpretive flexing.
basically,
Oh,
I
for
think what would
Christ's
happen
sake.
is, I think basically what would happen is, I would retell. I think as far back as the, I say dealing with, I even forgot the name of that. The underwater terror that we did.
And the Moyak.
The Moyak, that's it. Yeah, starting from our journey when we were going down to the bottom of the ocean to collect this sort of substance that we needed, and how we were fighting gods of the sea and breaking people out when they were trapped in this underwater prison, and and Blugs being the mightiest warrior of them all, like cutting down enemies even while underwater. That didn't stop him with his massive strength and all this stuff. So every
As
time
everyone
I
turns to
mention
me
Blugs, I'm sure he'd try to flex whenever I do that.
and flex really pathetically so that everyone in the crowd is looking and going, are you sure he killed anything? Are you sure they didn't fall over out of pity?
Well, it's kind of even worse because whilst the locals are appreciative and they think you tell a tale well, even though they are looking askance at Blargs after that horrendous
He's
fight.
not really proving that he actually sort of did it with his superior strength. But trust me,
You get
he's
the
done it.
feeling, you get the feeling there's a bit of a conceptual gap here in that not many of them have ever actually seen the ocean, so they don't actually know what you're talking about. But they've sort of got that it's like a big lake, and are sort of
Yeah,
nodding along.
it's a lake that never seems to end in terms
And
of
and they sort of look, they're appreciative of this story as you tell it. And as as the night winds down, and you're given some of the local spirit, which is quite sweet and quite strong. They they sort of appreciate you, and they start telling their stories back to you, most of which are very agricultural and very oh, I was out in my back paddock and the livestock did something weird. A couple of them talk about the sort of mention this crazy old woman who lives out thing who they say is a seer, and but other stories just you're polite. They're fine. They're just not the most riveting storytellers you've ever told. As the night moves on, eventually you retire back to your quarters, and at about 3 o'clock, you've all been given separate rooms. Elendar, under your door, you hear a knock at your door, and you hear something being slipped under your door. As you get up to investigate, you can see it's a small note that's written on what appears to be a large leaf. And this note's written, and basically it says, your destiny awaits. You have a larger purpose in this world. Come and see me. And it's got a little symbol on it that you don't quite recognize as a signature. What do you think about that?
I'd kind of just turn the leaf over. Is there anything written on the back?
There's not a there's nothing back. There's not anything. But there's just you have a larger purpose. Your destiny awaits, and that symbol.
Interesting.
I don't know. Destiny is kind of that weird thing. For anyone to know their destiny or someone else's is kind of weird. Like,
Makes life kind of boring, doesn't it? If you know what's going to happen.
yeah, either you can see through time and space or you're crazy. So I'm kind of a little bit skeptical about this, but also kind of like, maybe there is someone who can see through time.
But would you want to know it is the question.
Well, if I remember the tales of like all those drunkards saying that they had, a great destiny out in the tavern, yeah, I'm sure I too would think I'd have a great destiny if some tropped up old drunk bum told me I was destined to slay something or destined to be greater than something else. There are only so many times one can be called the chosen one.
Yeah, that's very true. They probably tell everyone they're the chosen one in order to get business. It's called marketing.
Wow, Scrapper got cynical.
Well, congratulations!
I'm an engineer. I'm always skeptical when it comes to stuff like this.
You
I
just
only work with what I
create.
can use.
You just created the 4 Ps of marketing in the ninth world. Okay, so the choice is you can either take this note and show someone and investigate it further, or you could write it off, as Scrapper says, as marketing or someone trying to pull something or doing whatever. It's your choice.
I'll ask about it, because I mean, from what everyone's been saying, the Dark Hills are both incredibly boring sounding, but also very interesting at the same time. So it's like they call it the Dark Hills, and yet there's a ship flying around tossing things out the side with their rubbish, and there's a door that randomly opens and things come out. It's
And
both,
also bees.
yeah, and also bees. It's like this place is very almost like mundanely awesome. I will once because if that got slid under my door at like 3 in the morning, I might ponder it for a little bit, put it on the bedside table, and remember to ask someone about it in the morning.
So as the dawn breaks over Elderbriar, and you sort of hear some rustling out. They get up pretty early in Elderbriar. You can hear some more sort of flittering of wings as more of those sort of hairy cockroach livestock things that led through the town square early in the morning. You come out of the quarters you've been given, and there's a couple of locals around, and you've got the note, and Galeas, the woman with the dark red hair and the ice arm, is up and about and tending to some local matters. There's a couple of men in the village sitting there knitting, and a couple of the women are sort of around tending to children and things. And she sees you and, says, "Did you have a good night's sleep?"
Yeah, I was kind of like had the little leaf in my hand, just like, yeah, got this during the night. Someone knocked at my door and left this message for me.
She sort of takes it from you and looks at it and examines it, and she says, "Well, this mark belongs to Seda. Seda is the seer of our village. She is who we go to when we want, to know what the harvests will be like, or if we want to know what, or what destiny awaits us. Some people believe that she has, great wisdom. Others believe that, she's just, making it up, or is just an old woman. But she's pretty. Well, should be an interesting conversation anyway.
Does she do this to every person who passes through town?
Oh no, I haven't. Well, if she's done it to any other travelers, I haven't heard. But it could be just she sees something special in you, or she could want something else from you.
I tap my coin pouch.
Well, she's not the type, and she looks at you. Well, she's not the type to. She doesn't tend to sell her wares or sell anything. She takes things in trade for fortunes and all of that, but she's not. She's not crooked or anything like that.
I guess it would be remiss to at least not speak to her before you leave. I mean, it wouldn't be be very nice to leave an old woman waiting for someone who never visits her.
And she says, "Well, if you want to find her, she is just outside the village," and she points out of the square. If you head down that road about 5 minutes, and there's a large rock, and if you turn around the rock, there's a small shack that you'll see. That's where Sada lives.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Galus?
Galus, but well done. So, Elendar, are you going to take Scrapper and Blargs with you to see this woman, or are you going to approach her alone?
There's like a little bit of time before we set off again. I'm happy to go by myself, but I'll float the idea to both of them if they want to. Come on.
I'll come with you. I mean, I'll try to keep my mouth shut when it comes to my feelings towards things like this, but you never know. We've dealt with stranger things.
I like stories. I'll join in.
Do you like making stories or being stories?
Yes.
Excellent.
So you can secure the rest of your belongings at your quarters while you head out of town, if you'd like, or you can pack up completely and take them with you. You're not going very far out of town.
We're not going very far out of town, but at the same time it's just like, well, if it's a bust, we might as well be prepared to leave anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So you pack up and set off in the direction that Galus had indicated, and you go round out of the village a little bit and past the rock, and you see a moss-covered shack. It's a bit out of sight of the path you're on, but after a little bit of searching, a couple of minutes, you spot it and head down there. As you approach the shack, you get this sort of feeling in the air. It's like a dusty feeling in the air. You get the sense that there's you can feel something in the area, a little sort of tingle or greasy feeling or something that you can just feel like there's something coming from this shack. And you go and you can approach the shack. As you notice there, it looks like there is smoke coming out of the chimney. You get the feeling someone's home. So would you like to knock on the door, or would you like to scout it out further, or what?
I'll just walk straight up and knock on the moss-covered door.
So you knock on the door, and after a second, there is a voice from inside, and she says, and it's a woman's voice, and it comes out. "Ah, yes, of course you are here. Come in, oh destined one."
I
You
open the
open
door.
you open the door, and inside, reclining on sort of halfway between a couch and a bed, is an incredibly is a very obese woman. She's quite overweight and is covered in orange paint. She's not wearing much. She's sort of wearing a basic skirt. It looks like quite big, but she's covered in this orange paint, and carved out of the orange paint are sort of sigils and symbols traced into it where you can see her flesh, and there's a lot of it beneath. She says, "Ah, yes, destined one, come within. Oh, and I see you've brought some of your servants with you. Excellent.
You've gotten that wrong. These are my friends.
Ah, they are friends that will help you on your path to destiny."
Okay.
How do you respond to that, Blarks?
I like Destiny.
Ah, yes, it's when the tales are told of this Elendar in the future, I'm sure that your name will be mentioned in the footnotes.
I have big feet, but I'm not very good at reading notes. All those letters hurt my head a little.
Yes, that is what I have seen about you. And after she's engaged with that, she just like blanks you and switches back to Elendar. You get the feeling that she doesn't want to talk to you. She's here to talk to Elendar. Now, welcome. And I see you got my note and are here to answer the call.
The call of what?
Why, of your future, as I have foreseen it.
You're going to need to take 2 steps back for a moment and just explain what is going on.
She sort of looks at you for a second and then says, "Oh, my apologies. I forget that not everyone is as gifted with the sight as I am, and sometimes I get ahead of myself. My name is Seda, and I have identified within your future a chance for greatness and also a chance to make your mark on this area and on the people of Elderbriar. For you see, I am the seer of this village, and I provide services for them, never asking for payment, other than, some food and some goods and the odd, the odd consideration. But I have seen within my future that you are the one that can help me out. You see, to the south of this village is the Valley of Bees, which is overseen by the Hive Man. Some call these the Ghost Bees. It's a giant hive complex. To enable my gift, and to enable me to keep serving the people of Elderbriar, I require some of the honey from the hives. But it needs to be extracted with great care. I can't send any of the locals in because they don't have the skill or the tact to navigate the hives. But within you, Elendar, with your followers, your minions, I see their potential.
So I am destined to collect honey.
to serve the people of Elderbriar. I can offer a small consideration if it's shins that you need, but it is really your destiny to help these people.
When was the last time you got honey?
she sort of looks back at him. When I was a younger woman, I had a deal with the hives, but that deal has changed recently. I don't know how much you know about bees, but colonies must migrate, and the colony that was here has since migrated away. What I really need is some more of their honey stockpile from the hives, or for you to go there and procure for me, and you, queen for the hives. If you can bring me back a queen bee from the hives, I can situate it here and produce honey here, and then, have a never-ending supply. Or if you can get me enough of a stockpile to continue to serve these people into the future, I will be incredibly grateful.
Now, I'm not an apiarist, but I think
Ah, you are a man of wisdom, though, of much learning.
I I think stealing a queen from a hive of bees doesn't sound like a very good thing. That would be like stealing the mayor of a town.
I'm not
Stealing black
suggesting that you
facts.
go there and break into a hive and smash and grab. No, there is a man that you can talk to. Well, I say a man, a figure, a being that you can speak to. The locals call him the Hive Man, although he's really called the Keeper, or at least that's what he or she or it or they refer to themselves as. It's a bit hard to tell at this point. If you can go to the Keeper might you will negotiate with the Keeper, and the Keeper will give you a queen to bring back to my hives here.
So what happens if you don't have honey? Like, does all this kind of fade into dust or something and you wither away like an old crone, or is it just something that helps you see the future?
Well, without the honey, I can't foresee the future. I have served the people of Elderbriar for a long time. I have told people when their crops are going to fail. I have told them when their children aren't going to make it through childbirth. I have told them that who they can find their true love with when they marry, and who they can't. With your help, I can continue to do so, and this village that's on the edge of nowhere can continue to be as prosperous as ever.
Do you just eat the hive and it gives you these magical powers?
Well, the honey needs a little preparation, but then, yes, I use it in my tinctures and my tonics to enable me to properly discern the future, which is where I saw you, Elendar, and your servants. Friends, I'm sorry.
You're being asked to help a drug addict.
That's really the impression that you get, that behind her
That's
facade,
the question I'm getting.
behind her facade that she is dependent on this honey, not just to see, but it's like there is an addiction there. Now
I
that you
guess
look around her hut, now that you've come in here, you sort of see a bee and honey motif. There's sort of like a honeycomb pattern carved out in the wooden walls, and there is now you can get closer. You can sort of place a smell, and there is a sweet honey smell, and that sort of feeling in the air you get you got as you approach. You can sense is almost like that greasy feeling is actually more a sticky, like honey thing. You think, in a assorted smoke and coming out of it. There is a lot of honey involved in what she's doing.
I don't know. I kind of turn to Scrapper and I turn to Blargs and just like, feel kind of bad if we just left on this. I mean, it doesn't sound too far.
Sounds like a waste of time to me, unfortunately. But if you want to do that, then I guess we can do it.
If it helps, she's giving off less of a like huckster vibe than Front.
I mean,
Probably only
heck,
slightly.
this hive man could be some ancient, powerful person. He might be able to tell us something, or maybe he might know of the way you guys got around.
And the plot twist is going to be that it's actually Frond and he's been following us.
You're assuming Front's a lot more competent than he actually is. Put it this way, you're lucky Elendar only ended up with leftover tentacles after that concoction he brewed for him.
I was totally okay with other things. And I'm just going to let you know that if we do end up going to this thing, I am going to eat and take so much extra honey.
Okay. If you get addicted to this stuff, I'm probably going to leave you here. Just saying.
I'll take a few. I'll ask for a bee of my own, or a few
Okay.
bees of my own.
All right.
Okay, so you're going... Blargs, what do you think?
I like honey. It goes well on porridge.
Okay,
Also,
so
it's a chance I might be able to smash something. Always good.
With your steel cut axe.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to see you try to hit bees with that axe.
You hit them with the side.
Just swatting them a couple at a time while the rest sting you to death.
It's alright, I've been stung once by a bee. That means I'm immune.
That's just science. So you're going to go after the honey for her?
I would say so.
Okay, so you indicate that to Seda, and she said, "As I have foreseen it. See, this is why you are destined for greatness. You know, you help out a village like this in need. One day, the name of Elendar will be known all across the Steadfast." She gives you a small charm. She reaches into a pocket that she's got in there, and she sort of pushes herself up. They're pushing her huge frame sort of up. And as she stands up, you realise that she's actually quite tall. She's like 9 feet tall. You just couldn't tell because she was sort of sitting down and because she's so obese. And she hands you a small honeycomb-shaped charm. And she says, "If you take this to the hive man, he will know you have come from me, and he will know what to do. I thank you for taking upon this journey for me."
Well, it does sound like I was destined, so I'm not sure how much choice I had.
Oh, there is always choice, but, when I see the future, it is never written in stone. But it does give me an awful headache when the future doesn't turn out how I see it. And I might call it there for the evening.